straight from the underground. Yeah. Thank you for taking a ride on the Freedom Train podcast series. I am your host, Joseph Ward. And as always, ride with me is my homie, Mr. Patrick Irvin. Remember, the Freedom Train is brought to you by PAX Inc. That's PACTSINC. And PAX Inc. is a black development organization aimed at developing the black community to its maximum potential through a focus on education and economics with the traits of hard work, honesty, and integrity. And for more information, make sure you visit www.pactsinc.org. And as always, log on to our website, www.freedomtrainradio.com, to learn more about myself, Patrick, all of our other hosts of our other shows. And, stay tuned because everything is dropping on you. And we got a new show coming onto the network called Block and Nickel. And it's a show about economics. And we got my brother Donnell Durden that's going to be hosting that show. And it's going to be dropping every Tuesday. So stay tuned with us so we can give you the exact date that the first show is going to start. So our tweaked weekly lineup real quick is every Monday, you're going to get the Fixed Sports Podcast hosted by myself. Every Tuesday now, you're going to get Block and Nickel by Donnell Durden. Every Wednesday, you're going to get this show, the Freedom Train Podcast Series, as well as the live showing of Office Hours with Professor Carl Tone Jones and Erica Tobert. Every Thursday, you're going to get Lessons from the Screen with my man Patrick Irvin. Every Friday, you're going to get the podcast of Office Hours with Professor Carl Tone Jones and Erica Tobert. Every Saturday, you're going to get Tea Time Black Women Talk, as well as every Saturday, you're going to get the On the Shows of Giants podcast. And remember, all of our podcasts are available on our website, www.freedomtrainradio.com, as well as iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And remember, social media, Twitter, @FreedomTrainNet, Instagram, @FreedomTrainNetwork. We're on Facebook, Freedom Train Network, YouTube, Freedom Train Network. And, if you want to be cool, you need to follow the Freedom Train. Ain't that right, Pat?
Word.
So you sound like a robot.
It's Freaky Friday. Oh, wait, no, it's not.
Hey, man, I just want to go on record to say, fuck that song. And Lil Dicky, too. And Lil Dicky need his ass whooped because he one of the white people who want to call black people niggas. So if you want to call me a nigga for sport, fuck you. And now he need his ass whooped. My auntie will kick his ass.
Joe, you're not that N-word. You're not that N-word? Is how the white people say it when they're around black people.
Right. That's how they sing the song.
When they're around black people. We got the video of what they do when they're not around black people.
Yeah.
They be all into it. Because I'm that nigga, on that nigga.
Wow. And Chris Brown, you need your ass for agreeing to do that. Because apparently Lil Dicky wrote that. And Chris Brown saw that and was like, yeah, let's do this, Little Dicky. First of all, I'm a grown-ass man. I ain't calling you Lil Dicky, first of all. What's your real name, boy? Because I'm calling you by your real name because I'm a grown-ass man. I refuse to call your little goof-ass Lil Dicky. Second of all, if you bring this to me again, to all these niggas, not only I'm gonna kick your ass this time, but next time, ooh, I ain't gonna tell you.
Now, what I wonder is, because Lil Dicky wrote the song, right? He did write the song. And he actually demoed the song for Chris Brown. Now, he said he got somebody else to do the Chris Brown parts before he presented it to Chris Brown. I'm wondering, was that dude black or white? And did he say that part too?
I don't give a damn who demoed what.
I'm just saying because that's another person who need their ass whooped.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, you extending the ass whooping list. Well, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay, but goddamn it, yeah, everybody who involved in that need their ass whooped. And all the DJs, like if I was a DJ playing that song, and even if it's on the track list, I'm gonna say something before I play that song, and people just gonna be mad at me because I'm gonna say something because at some point, sometime, black people across the country got to take a stand and be like, hey man, this ain't cool. I don't care if Chris Brown's singing it. Everybody know Lil Dicky wrote it. Everybody know Lil Dicky just like the Gary Owens. Y'all want to call black people niggas. Y'all think it's a game. Y'all think it's fun. It's funny and stuff. Like, nah, man, you can't just go around calling me no niggas. And I don't care what these little young black dudes talking about, that they don't care about nobody calling them nigga. Yes, they do. Let the right white boy call them a nigga and see them fight. So I don't want to hear that.
That'd be my thing. Like, you can't say it's no big deal, and then when somebody call you one out of anger or some shit, you ready to fight. All right, that means it's a big fucking deal.
Right. So you mean tell me one of these redneck hit Trump supporters call you a nigga, you just gonna take it? Nah, man, come on.
And
man.
The crazy part is, the scenario you just posted, they can't even be like, long as he said, like, without aggression, if one of them big-ass hillbilly white boys in overalls with no undershirt came up to you with a cheek full of dip and was like, boy, you my nigga.
You're going to be mad.
You still be ready.
You better be mad. But I also, like, I was looking at a video of this dad and his son having a conversation about using the word nigga. And I'm just sitting there looking at the dad because him and his son going back and forth on opposite sides. I'm looking at him like, bro, it's your fault. Because from day one, you should have told him why it's not cool for him to allow other people calling him that word. Because all y'all people, listen to that. I'm going to say it like one country aunties or uncles. Listen at me good. I want y'all to listen at me real good. Listen at me. Black people we call ourselves nigga because of hundreds of years of social conditioning. Let me say that again. For at least 400 years of social conditioning is the reason black people call ourselves nigga, because we were conditioned to use that word for ourselves. Black people were converted into niggerdom for a specific reason, and I've said it before, they were converted to niggerdom to help advance and be a proponent for the system of white supremacy. So that's why black people do it. So all the white people that want to do it, they're trying to be cool. So now, being cool can get your ass whooped. That's all I'm saying.
But and I will also say that I agree, and that's why I think it's a lot of parents need their ass whooped. If you grow up and your kid is like, I don't care if a white person calls me a nigga, you failed somewhere along the line.
Yeah, you should have been talking to your child about race. Like, man, I was in the barbershop the other day, and I was breaking it down to these cats what race really is. Like the concept of race in itself is racism. The idea of race is competition for land, resources, and survival between the different groups of people who have similar phenotypes. And it just so happened the European group, the group who's labeled European or white, they kicking everybody's ass. Race is not biological, but it's real. And we in a race war, and we losing because we don't even know we in a goddamn war or competition. This shit ain't fun and games, man. The concept of race wasn't created for no damn playground stuff, man. It was created to justify slavery and racism and the land grab. That's why it was created. Y'all need to get y'all head out y'all ass, some of y'all, man. But anywho, I had to rant. My bad, Pat. So today, our real topics, though. All right, so our real topics today is, one, we want to talk about the Fukushima oil spill and how it's been affecting the Earth's water. And we're also going to go into what nuclear waste is. We want to talk about the Bill Cosby case, which is going to cause us to talk about the Russell Simmons case. So we're going to cover those two, as well as we're going to talk about all these black people who are getting arrested. So the cops called on them when they're spending their money at white establishments. And we're going to kind of give our thoughts on that and solutions to what we could do to help us not get the cops called on us. So we're going to start with the Fukushima oil spill. So, Pat, before we get into, well, let's give a little back history on that. So, as you and I were talking earlier, you know, what is 2011 when the actual Fukushima oil spill happened, right?
Right.
Okay. So, basically, what is the nuclear power plant? What is the Fukushima Daiichi not power plant? It exploded. So let me read this for you all real quick. 5 years ago this month, a devastating tsunami engulfed Japan's northeastern coast, triggering the world's worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl. Washing over a 10-meter high seawall, the waves knocked out electricity at Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, causing cooling systems to fail and half the facility's uranium cores to overheat and melt through their steel containers. Hydrogen explosions in the next few days damaged three of the reactor buildings, venting radioactive materials into the air. The plume of airborne contamination forced some 160,000 people to evacuate from their homes. Today, the disaster site remains in crisis mode. Former residents will not likely return anytime soon because of the levels of radioactivity near their abodes remain high. Even more troublesome, the plant has yet to stop producing dangerous nuclear waste. Its operator, the Tokyo Electric Power Company, currently circulates water throughout the 3 melted units to keep them cool, generating a relentless supply of radioactive water. To make matters worse, the groundwater flowing from a hill behind the crippled plant now mingles with radioactive materials before heading into the sea. So I'm going to read this part to you. From the Tokyo Electric Power Company collects the contaminated water and stores it all in a massive tank at the rate of 400 metric tons a day. Lately, the water has been processed to reduce the concentration of radionuclides, but it still retains high concentrations of tritium, whatever that is, a radioactive isotope of hydrogen. Disputes over this final resting place remain unresolved. The same goes for the millions of bags of contaminated topsoil and other solid waste from the disaster, as well as uranium fuel itself. Health reports, too, are worrisome. Scientists have seen an increase in thyroid cancers among the children who have lived in Fukushima at the time, although it is too early to tell if those cases can be attributed to the accident. So, and also, basically, the nuclear waste got into the Pacific Ocean, and over the years, the nuclear waste is now starting to reach the coast of California and the Pacific coast of the United States and the Americas, which is an issue. It's been an issue, but now it's a direct issue to the United States. So we kind of want to bring attention to that, kind of talk about that for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Pat Irvin, are you with me?
I'm here. You know, I apologize to everybody. It's a little rocky, but I'm here. No, but it's something we need to take advantage of. What's up?
You're supposed to give the Kurt Franklin response. You're supposed to say, "Oh yeah." I said, "Are you with me?" You're supposed to say, "Oh yeah." You know, but no man, it's all good. Kurt Franklin.
Yeah, you kind of lost me on that one. I'm sorry. I wasn't in Kurt Franklin mode right then.
Stomp. It's all good. So, but go ahead.
No. I mean, but it is something that, and we were talking about this before the show, how people don't seem to care too much about climate. They don't seem to care too much about, and a lot of that is because, you know, we are largely informed by what's in the news cycle, and of late, you know, environmental disasters just have not been in the news cycle. But this issue with nuclear waste, like I was telling you before the show, I wanted to explain what nuclear waste was, because it's one of those terms that we hear, and when I ask a lot of people, well, what's nuclear waste, they don't really have an answer. I know why it's bad for you. So very, very generally, nuclear waste is basically when nuclear fuel rods are put through a nuclear reactor. They go through a process called fission, where the atoms explode, and they harness that energy from the explosion. Now, they explode into smaller pieces. Those smaller pieces become nuclear waste because they're unstable, and they themselves will explode again at any point between when they're created and 100 or 1,000 years from then. And so what's happening when you have nuclear waste, nuclear byproduct in the water, in the air, in the food, in the whatever, you basically have microscopic time bombs that are floating around on an atomic level, at a molecular level. And when they explode near another molecule, they cause that molecule to explode as well. So that's why when you have things going on around nuclear waste, you have ecosystems destroyed by nuclear waste, what you're essentially seeing are atomic explosions that are destroying the atoms around them. So you don't want to eat that stuff because you don't want those explosions going off in your body. You don't want to drink that stuff. You don't want to breathe that stuff. You don't want to live in that stuff. You don't want to eat anything that has eaten that stuff. So I just wanted to bring that up to let people know this is why this is dangerous, because it's basically like eating a time bomb.
Well, also people should be looking at, as the article noted, Chernobyl, what happened, because I don't think a lot of people even know what happened with Chernobyl. Even though references have been made, I know Andre 3000 made a reference in one of the songs. I think it was either ATLians or Aquemini. He made a reference to Chernobyl and what happened. But also in the Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, when the lady had the penis for a nose because she was from Chernobyl, and then looking at Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the results and things of that. So we do have historical to back up what you were saying about how they are is dangerous to people. We do have historical record to show the effects of nuclear waste or even nuclear bombs or nuclear byproducts and what it does to the human body and how it's not favorable to the human body. So us taking this serious is the reason why we're talking about this, is because this is not something that needs to be taken lightly as if, okay, well, it's nuclear waste. It's all good. I live in Florida. Like, we're on the East Coast. I'm in Florida here in Carolina. But still, like we was talking about earlier, if you like the Alaskan sockeye, matter of fact, you shouldn't be eating Alaskan sockeye right now because they've contaminated with a whole bunch of tapeworms and everything. But that's a whole other subject for another day. But it affects, if it's in the water, it affects a lot because water is the source of life for a lot of things. And we can't just be like, well, it ain't affecting me. Like, if the ecosystem in the ocean is threw off, that's going to mess up us as well. We need to understand how everything is connected.
Yeah, we won't survive if the water is destroyed, the ecosystems in the oceans are destroyed. The ecosystems of the land are destroyed as well. Like, and that's something we really need to understand, because in a lot of regards, the ocean life can survive without land life. In a lot of regards, there will be some impact, but life could still go on some level in the ocean. If the oceans become barren, become desert, become totally lifeless, land life will cease to exist. Period.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that. We need, like you said, we need to understand how everything is connected. And, this actually bleeds over a little bit into politics, because a lot of people say, well, what can we do? Funding for scientific research, funding for discoveries and breakthroughs for things that can clean up the waste, that can stabilize unstable atomic molecules, that can do all of these other things. That type of scientific funding has dropped off considerably under the new administration that we have. And I'm not just talking about Trump. I'm talking about federal Congress as well. So, what we can do is get politicians in place that support real science, that will fund the types of things that we need funded. And that's where, you making sure that you're well informed about your political candidates and what they support comes into play.
That's important. That's important. Stop just voting people because of political party affiliation or they said something you like, or just because they black. Man, look at here.
100% right, man. We've got to start taking the political system more seriously. You start looking at the EPA, the FDA, and a whole bunch of other organizations, which, regardless of how you feel about them, they do run tests and they do run studies that allow us to have more insight into the world around us. And I know a lot of people that disagree with the FDA, but they still benefit from the research and the studies that the FDA publishes. And it's the same with the EPA.
The regular people the average person who claim who I guess expresses their disdain with the FDA, the average person don't do the research. So even their disdain is based off of a lot of hearsay a lot of times. And
That's
I'm not
true.
going to say every single person doesn't actually do research, but let's just be real, the average person don't have the resources to do the type of research that the FDA does. They get funded to research.
That's true. And that's actually a damn good point. That's a great point. And until we have our own black entity that we can trust, that's funded to a sufficient level to do comparable research, we gotta take the research we got and be thorough with our understanding of it. We can question the methodology, we can question the goals, we can question all of that. But at the end of the day, if there's nothing else, then there's nothing else. So we kind of got to go with what we got. But we do need to understand that right now we have a government that's administrated on the highest levels. And again, I'm not just talking about Trump. I'm talking about Congress. I'm talking about the legislative branch right now. These guys, largely at the behest of the executive branch, but these guys don't support scientific funding. So scientific funding is being slashed right along with educational funding. All of the stuff that would make people smart enough to fix our ecosystem is being slashed right now. So if you're looking for something that you can do right now, because I know a lot of people are going to hear us talking about nuclear waste and they're going to be like, well, I can't do shit about that. You can get involved politically.
Yeah. But we're also talking about long-term effects to people. Like, how does this affect your kids and your grandkids? Like Flint, like what's going on in Flint, that's environmental stuff. That's what's going on in Flint. But guess what? Like, we did a show on this. There are cities around this country who have lead levels in their water that are 10 times higher than Flint that we ain't even talking about. So in the overall picture, what we're saying of how it affects our community is, for one, to our detriment, we don't pay attention to the environmental injustices that are happening to us. So you have a small minority of people who actually really give a shit about the environment. Shout out to Wangari Maathai, R.I.P. Wangari Maathai. But I had to do that because she was a great environmentalist. But there's a lot of people who don't care about the environment, and that's not the African way. African people have always cared about the environment because we've always lived in harmony with the environment. And since we've adopted these European characteristics and these traits and these social and cultural norms, we too treat the environment the same way as the white man do, as a tool. Like, white man try to destroy everything they come across, white supremacists to be more specific. So this nuclear waste is very, very, very important, just as important as the oil spill was in the Gulf of Mexico. Like, I'm here in Tallahassee. The Gulf is 45 minutes away from here. So it's very, very, very important because it's how it affects how we eat, the food that we eat, the food we consume. We're in these states where seafood is consumed at a high rate. Why? Because the water right there. But if you've been paying attention, and I encourage everyone to go do their own research and kind of go back and see the effects of the Fukushima oil spill, but it's been affecting marine life for a while. Like, animals have mutations. There are certain things in this ocean. Now, some of these things may have been there, and of course the ocean has not been explored. Here, all of the earth hasn't been explored, but it's a lot of stuff that you can look at and tell that it's kind of been mutated. And then if you look at the path of the oil spill, it's in that path. So we really have to take that into the real consideration and not just be like, oh man, well, it's just nuclear waste and it's over in California. All right, what if you move to California? If you go to LA, I mean, all these things. It's a lot that goes into this that happens. And like I stated before, if the ecosystem of the ocean is thrown off, we're thrown off. Hell, if the bees disappear, we thrown off. If the ants disappear, we thrown off. Like, everything, a lot of these things here for a reason, man.
And that's what we got to understand, and that's where you get back into researching how things do affect your body and how everything is connected. Because not too long ago, they were having this talk about mercury in the fish. And, you know, most people know that, you know, mercury is poisonous to the human body, especially in large quantities. But then you start talking about the lead in the water, lead actually affects cognitive development, meaning that over time, to put it bluntly, over time it makes you stupid. Over time, generation after generation of consuming lead, high levels of lead, the generations will get stupider. They'll get dumber. They will lose the ability to process information in the same way that they once could. And these are the types of subtle changes that we're talking about. If we're talking about being serious about saving our community, we have to talk about being serious about maintaining our genetics and maintaining the next generation. And that starts with you taking care of you. And that goes into a whole conversation again about epigenetics and all that, because everything is connected. But at the end of the day, if we're not doing enough research to understand the long-term multi-generational effects of these chemicals and things, because I've seen a lot of people, and I'm going to say this and then I'm going to shut up. It's extremely important, but I do need people to understand just because something says natural, and I know it's a tangent, but just because something says natural don't mean it is. Just because something says African don't mean that it is, and if it is, that don't mean that it's good for you. I've seen a lot of people coming up with their own homemade chemical concoctions for various things, and then you ask them what they put into it, and you find out that they're putting in things that are just as bad for you as the stuff you buy out of the store, maybe even worse, because I did find the case of one woman who had made her own skin cleansing cream and was actually using Clorox bleach in the formula. But in any case, we just need to be more, we need to do more research and think a little bit deeper about all of this stuff and how it's connected. I'm going to just shut up with that.
No, that's straight up, though. I mean, we do need to do more research. And like we said, we're bringing up this topic, for one, because we want to bring more awareness to what's happening with the Fukushima oil spill, but also start to get the black people who are not more aware about the environmental injustices to be more aware of what's going on with the environment, because like Mother Earth is a living entity, and I guarantee you she will get rid of us before she allows us to destroy her. I guarantee you that. And I just want Mother Earth to know I'm on her side. There it is. So the next thing we want to talk about is these cases with Bill Cosby and, of course, Russell Simmons as well. But if you don't know, Bill Cosby basically he was sentenced to 30 years in prison because he was found guilty of drugging and raping this young lady. So let me read you this headline. So Bill Cosby's accusers cheered outside the Norristown, Pennsylvania courtyard on Thursday when they learned he had been convicted on three counts of aggravated and indecent assault and could face as much as 30 years in prison, but the amount of jail time he will actually see is an outstanding question. The maximum sentence for each of the three counts is 10 years or 30 years in total, meaning the 80-year-old Cosby, who was legally blind and in poor health, could spend the end of his life in prison. He is currently out on bail and confined in his home while awaiting sentencing, but legal experts say the maximum sentences are not typically what a defendant will get in Pennsylvania. The maximums are very deceptive about what the real sentence is going to be, said Michelle DeCindio, a criminal defense attorney who practices in Montgomery County where Cosby was convicted. DeCindio said that while there are maximums in the state that could be imposed, Pennsylvania's sentencing guidelines are going to weigh heavily in balance. In 1982, Pennsylvania Commission on Sentencing created benchmarks to promote equity and fairness. Equity and fairness in sentencing. The sentencing guidelines for aggravated indecent assault call for 22 to 36 months for each account rather than a 10-year maximum. Judges have discretion to consider a variety of factors in determining a sentence, including a defendant's criminal history, the effect of criminal behavior on public safety, and the possibility of mitigating and aggravating factors in the case. Based on those factors, judges decide the length of the sentence on each count, as well as whether those sentences are served consecutively or concurrently. Now, one thing about this case that gets me, one thing I ain't gonna lie, and I've been saying this, one thing we did find out about this is that Bill Cosby ain't no damn saint. He a freak. We did find that out. But as far as the evidence that's been gathered for this decision to be made, because this is the appeal, because when he was found not guilty first, it was appeal, so this was the decision in the appeal. So now that they're saying it went down from like 40-something women to him being found guilty to raping one woman, drugging and raping one woman. So the other women, because this case has a lot of fucked up stuff. Now I'm not above any rapists being sentenced for raping. Y'all know the stance that we take on this show. But we also like to think about stuff before we just go to final decisions. And that's what we're here trying to do, is wrap our minds around this whole Cosby situation. Because if Cosby is truly, truly, truly guilty of raping any amount of women from 1 to 100, he needs to be found guilty and all that stuff there. But I think one of the things that the black community has a problem with is the justice system and all of these things are going out of this way to indict and bring down Cosby, but white people keep getting away with stuff. And one of the things that they were juxtaposing this case to was the white lady who lied on Emmett Till. It's like, okay, so can she go back and be convicted of a crime and sentenced to jail time and all these things here? So, like, what's your thoughts on this, Pat?
I don't like the way, and to me, if he is a criminal, and if he did do it, and there's a lot to suggest that he did, he does deserve to be sentenced. He does deserve to be guilty, and he does deserve everything he gets. My beef is how this all came about. How they got him. And that's a beef for me, because it opens the door. You got to remember, with every conviction, it opens the door for more people to follow through that manuscript, that road, that path. And Bill Cosby was not convicted based on evidence of any real sort other than hearsay and memories that were largely uncorroborated years and years and years ago.
But see, that was my main question, though. What real evidence was he convicted on?
Well, and see, this is the thing, right? Bill Cosby, because of the first trial, because this is the retrial, and here's the thing, her case has always been one of, if not the weakest case of all of the women brought forward, for a variety of reasons. One, she maintained contact. She bought him gifts. She made him a sweater. She, all of these things that happened after the assault, just made it look totally like y'all was in a relationship. And then for a lot of us, and this is me speaking as a black man, and I'm sure these stories have come out a lot ever since the first Bill Cosby situation. But a lot of times, I've had a lot of friends who have had situations with white girls that didn't work out, and then the white girl tried to get the black dude cased up. That's one of the reasons why I'm nervous. I get nervous around white women in particular, and you can take that however you want, but it is what it is.
Man, I've been saying that the whole while. Everybody know how we feel about white women. So if you got a problem with that, you obviously haven't been listening to this long.
So that's kind of been my thing, is that I don't know that I like the way it went, because like the fear now is that that they could get one of us
anytime they want
some other situation or some trumped up bullshit. Then they used his deposition. He had a secret deposition that they told him anything he said in the deposition would not be used in his criminal trial. And then they turned around and used his deposition against him. And you could also so that's another issue. And then you could just see, like, this second trial was not innocent until proven guilty. This shit was guilty until proven innocent. All of those things bother me. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, justice is justice, and it don't matter how we get it, long as we get it. That's bullshit. It most certainly, definitely does matter how you get it, because the process that you go through to achieve justice affects what justice actually is and who gets it and who doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's what concerned me. It don't have shit to do with Bill Cosby. He could be the biggest scumbag on the planet. And if they had gotten him this way, I would still be like, I don't like the way they got him. I don't. This was a he say, she say trial from the beginning. And we all know that memories are oftentimes wrong. And they get worse over years.
And that was one of the things that I was looking at is, because if it's still only about he say, she say, then how do you really convict somebody over some he say, she say shit? You know, like she's saying, oh, well, he drugged me this time and that time and all this. But how can they verify that that happened? And I mean, it's I don't know, it's not sitting right with me. It's not sitting right with me.
And look, we understand, and I do want to say this, we understand completely that sets the burden of proof extremely high for a woman that's going to claim that she's been raped or molested or whatever after the fact. It does. And I understand for a lot of women that's unfair. It is. But, well, I won't even say it's unfair because it is fair. Everybody has that same level of burden of proof that they have to achieve. Unfair would be like if men had this lower level and women had this higher level. Everybody has the same high level of proof. And it should be high because you're potentially ruining somebody's life, taking away their freedom. It should be a high standard, high burden of proof. What we need to be doing is getting women to feel more comfortable going to get rape kits done immediately after they happen, talking to people immediately after it happens. We need to be having these sort of conversations to make women feel empowered to come forward right away. I don't know that you do this by convicting people based off he say of crimes, he say, she say, of crimes committed 10, 20, 30 years ago without any real evidence.
Yeah.
And I know that might sound fucked up, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
But no, that's real though, like, because what is it about this specific case that can get him convicted, but at the same time we have total evidence on other people who've done stuff like last year and they get off scot-free? Like, because like you said earlier, if we're looking for justice, we got to be looking for justice across the board, not just for justice in the case of violence against women. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. And you've heard me say this before across the board. You're never going to stop sexual assault, violence, rape, domestic violence, all these things if you're only concentrating on violence against women. Because, yes, violence against women is one of the ugliest outcomes of Americans existing in an unhealthy environment, because hurt people hurt people, and the cycles are out there. And to me, you can't continue making generations of men with issues and then just saying, hey, don't hit women, or hey, don't rape women, or only concentrate on that. Well, who's concentrating on these men who are being fucked up? Because that's one of the biggest issues that's happening. That's what's a lot of this leading to this stuff is you got men and women who are fucked up because they was fucked up by fucked up people.